Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I can't wait to share the journey with you. So let's start. Hello and welcome to Your Forever Home, the podcast. Welcome to episode 10 of the Bathroom Design Essentials season. I am back again today chatting with Cathryn Matchett and Trisha Narde from Reece Bathroom Life in Brighton, Victoria. And today we're going to be talking about choosing your toilet. Now, you may think this is a bit of a humdrum topic and all toilets are the same and there's not really much differentiation between the products. But let me tell you, this is quite an interesting episode because there is so much to know and so many new technologies available in toilets. So we chat quite a lot about what is going to be the standard in toilets very, very soon. So this is a really interesting episode for you to really get your head around not all toilets are the same, and also working out from a budgetary and an aesthetic perspective which toilet is going to suit your needs. And as we jokingly talk about on this episode, but it's not a joking matter, like with a bath, you need to go and sit on the loo that you are intending to buy to make sure that it is going to be a comfortable spot for you. So without further ado, I welcome you to this latest episode of the podcast. And joining me is Cathryn and Trisha. Enjoy. I am very lucky again to have Cathryn and Trisha from Reece from Bathroom Life in Brighton, and they are joining me again for episode 10, and we're going to talk today all about toilets. Now, as you know, if you've been following this for the last few weeks, we are in Bathroom Design Essentials season, and we're covering all things bathrooms. Last week, we spoke about tapware for basins and baths. We also spoke about showers, and today I'm going to be talking with Cathryn and Trisha about toilets. Now, you may be thinking, yeah, well, I just need a toilet. It's fairly straightforward. I'll just go and choose a toilet. But actually, there's a lot of things to consider, and there's a lot of new technology that's come out with regards to toilets. So yes, it's a personal preference whether you're going to place a lot of emphasis in the different type of toilet you may choose. But I just wanted to share today what you may want to consider when choosing your toilet. So welcome back again, Cathryn and Trisha.
Hello again.
Hello, thanks for your time. So toilets, I'm sure that you have people come in all the time about toilets. It might seem like a really mundane topic, but it's a fairly important one. So walk me through, what are the different types of toilets available? Because it's not just one or two.
No, it's not just one or two. And I will just say it can actually be part of the more entertaining side of a selection, to be honest, because
I'm sure you've got some funny stories.
Definitely. So people don't necessarily think that one day they're going to sit on a toilet in public, but they do, and it's for comfort and it's very important, but it does make it pretty funny, actually. We kind of have good chats over that. But yes, you're right. There are quite a few different types of toilets that you can choose from. The ones that are sort of more popular at the moment would be anything that's back to wall. So rather than have the old style toilet that you sort of see the kind of U-bend part at the back, and that's
all the exposed pipe where you got to clean behind there. It's really quite yucky.
Yes,
and so a back to wall is where the system is hard up against the wall, and basically the bowl is hard up against the wall as well. And you've got this nice clean ceramic piece that's really easy to clean. So that's what we're referring to as a back to wall.
Yes, that's right. So that you don't have to clean behind it, which is fantastic. There are other variations of that though. So you can have a standard sort of back to wall, what's called closed couple toilet, which means that the system sits on top, and that's kind of the old-fashioned style, I suppose, or traditional style toilet. Does it?
And also a relatively cost-effective style.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So to start with those sorts of options, you can actually have what's called an overheight pan or a standard height pan. So that's definitely something that I'd usually start with first. The standard
What's the height of a standard height? Sorry, you were just about to say it and I've cut you off. I apologise.
That's fine. So the standard height's usually about 400 mil off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find that quite a lot of people think that that's actually a bit short, even though it's standard. So then we'll sort of get them to try the overheight, which is usually somewhere between 425 to 440, depending on the brand, in height, and they can be a bit more comfortable. So for people who are tall, for example, they find those a lot more comfortable. Or for people who might have mobility issues and they just find it a bit harder to, get as well, they find those a lot easier. So they've sort of been designed for those purposes.
Can you get them any higher than 440?
I haven't come across one that's higher than 440 myself.
And it's quite incredible, though, how 4 centimetres can make such a big difference. It doesn't sound like much. We've used them quite a lot. And if you think about the fact that people are getting taller and taller as a generation, so what might have been standard in the 1950s, we're a lot taller as humans than what we were in the 1950s. So really, it's almost like 440 should be the new standard. And it's like with kitchen benches, 900 is standard. We are using more and more and more 920, 930, and it doesn't sound like much, but it can make a big difference. And particularly with really tall people, it's just a no-brainer. You would definitely go for what we're calling non-standard, which I think should really just be the standard.
Yeah, I am finding that as well, that it is almost becoming more of the standard, the more that I speak to people. But anyway, you've got options, and that's a good thing.
Is there a price premium for going to the higher pan?
There is a little bit, which is really just because there's more material involved in producing something that's a bit higher. So it's not an exorbitant amount or anything, but it will cost a little bit more because there's just more to it.
Yeah.
Another thing that can be considered and is definitely the way moving forward, like soft closing seats were a choice once upon a time. They're not anymore. That's pretty much standard. You don't have to ask for that. So now there's a technology called rimless technology, which is available in closed couple toilets like we're talking about with the cistern on top, or the pans where the cistern is in the wall. So either way, you can have this technology. For anyone who doesn't know what that actually means, the rimless technology,
please explain it. It's a great technology.
It's two things, and it is a great technology. It's like cleaning gold for me, I think. So with traditional toilets, they've got what's called a box rim, which I think a lot of people have probably heard that reference, which means that you've got a lot of holes underneath the rim of the toilet where the water comes out, and have you cleaned it or not? Who knows? There could be a lot of germs under there, and that's what we're trying to alleviate. So the rimless toilet is two things. It's basically got rid of that box rim, and it's just a clean wipe, so you don't have all the little holes underneath, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense.
Yep, and then the other part to it is actually the technology in the flush. So the flush will come out with a lot more force and power behind it, and then push things down. So to some degree, it's a self-cleaning thing as well.
So just for the listeners out there, because we're trying to visualize this without showing anything, where does the water come out of a rimless toilet when we don't have the holes underneath what you're referring to, or in a traditional toilet, the box area? So where's the water coming from?
Yeah, okay. So there's a couple of interpretations depending on the supplier. With that. So usually it would come from, say, if you've got the pan from behind at the back, it comes shooting around from both sides, and then it kind of meets at the front and then pushes everything down. So that's why it's sort of self-cleaning to a degree, because it's kind of pushing things.
Yes.
Which is good. There is another way of doing it though. One of our suppliers, American Standard, actually has a double vortex sort of idea. So I usually describe that to people as a tornado in a sense, which might sound funny, but it's got two holes and water comes out of one and also another hole behind it, and it sort of swirls around like a tornado and then pushes things down.
When you said tornado, Cathryn, I sort of was thinking about the toilets that you find on aeroplanes, because that really is like a tornado, but it's not that technology, okay?
Not as scary as those, because they do scare me every time.
I really think you really feel like that's a tornado. So, and then the rimless toilets, I'm assuming then, I know that there's a premium for that sort of technology. As a percentage, is it a lot more expensive to get a rimless toilet? Because it just almost seems like really the direction you want to go down?
It is really the way of the future. As I was mentioning with soft close seats, this will basically be the way toilets are in the future.
Yeah.
But because of that, they're really trying to make them cost effective. So although it might cost a little bit more, it really won't be much, and it'll be well worth it because you're just not really going to spend nearly as much time cleaning your toilet for a start. So that's great as far as I'm concerned. But they have actually got quite a few price points that are really reasonable. It just has a slight interpretation as to how literally rimless the pan can be.
Yes.
They're easy to clean. So they're making it easy to achieve.
So really already, my takeaways already are really look into rimless and then make sure you're getting a higher pan and don't go for the standard, because I think that's future proofing for anyone, because especially when you get older, and I know you mentioned mobility, but just getting up can be so much harder. So if you're building a forever home, getting that higher than standard height is just going to make such a difference when you're a lot older.
And even future-proofing your home, sometimes we find people who don't need it right now are thinking of the future.
Correct.
Years down the track, and so they'll kind of go down that path.
And that's definitely what I'm pushing for all the time.
I will go through smart toilets.
Oh, yes, please, because I know these smart toilets have got a big price tag and they're quite a thing. So tell us about the smart toilets, Trisha.
Smart toilets are, again, all about hygiene, similar to rimless toilets. So all about hygiene and cleanliness. So because we wash everything to clean everything, we wash our cars, we wash our hands, we wash our hair. So smart toilets also help with that. They wash and dry you. So there's a bidet spray that's built into the toilet seat.
Yes.
So, there's a spray of water that's built into the toilet seat, which you can control with a remote. You can control the water pressure, water temperature, and position of the wand to help with washing posterior.
Yeah, just self-cleaning.
Yes, that's right. So that's the again, something that is becoming more and more popular, and just through COVID as well, as we had to fight for our toilet paper, it's starting to become more important to be able to clean.
Yeah. So does that mean then, instead of having a separate bidet, you could actually have a smart toilet and you're almost getting two for one? Because I mean, bidets are really popular in places like France. But also when I was traveling around the Middle East, toilet paper does not exist there. It is all about, you've got a little tap at the side and everything's about cleaning. You never shake hands with someone with your right hand because that's your cleaning hand. So that sounds to me like these smart toilets are really, have got all these different things in one. So they're going to suit particular cultures more as well.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. It's also a very Japanese influence.
Yes.
Also with more and more people traveling overseas and seeing, smart toilets overseas, they are becoming more and more popular. And also in-wall systems. So where, you just see the toilet pan only, and the cistern, or the part that, the water tank that flushes, that contains water to flush the toilet, is hidden. It's inside your wall. So it actually sits inside just your stud wall. They're quite skinny, boxes. So that gives you a very clean kind of look, clutter-free, and it's also a great space-saving solution.
Yeah, and I think the thing that people need to be mindful of with that, though, it won't necessarily go into every stud wall. If you've got an exterior brick wall, it won't go in there. You may need to build then another wall inside the bathroom itself, but there is definitely that option. And I know with the hidden cistern, you can then get a floating pan, so it effectively is floating off the wall, or you can get one that then sits on the floor, but the cistern is still hidden.
Yes, that's correct.
I think the number one concerns that I hear with regards to these is, what about if something goes wrong? How do I access the flush mechanism or whatever's gone wrong in there, in the cistern?
Yeah, so you definitely need an access panel to access the a few movable parts inside the system. That can be achieved by having an access behind the system if it backs onto a wardrobe or a laundry where you can, build something to access it. But if not, that's completely fine. The flush buttons are a certain size so that they are detachable. You can remove the buttons and the plumber can get his hands in to fix just a few movable parts that are.
So that's accessed via the flush plate.
That's correct.
Is that with all flush plates or only the good quality ones?
All of them.
All flush plates, you can access the system. So really there is a fail-safe way, even if you can't access from another wall.
That's correct. And within the flush buttons as well, there's again considerations as in color matching, but there's definitely there's not as many colors within flush buttons. So something else that we've noticed a lot of our clients do is go with a completely white button so that it blends in with the wall tiles if they've got white wall tiles. And there's also enough sensor operated flush buttons, so you can just wave your hand in front of the flush button and it will flush.
Yeah, I mean that's been in public toilets for quite some time, but I can imagine with COVID people are becoming a lot more conscious of installing that sort of technology.
Absolutely.
And I think in the showroom in Brighton you've got a toilet that's also got a heated seat. Is there that sort of technology in all these, the heated seat, or am I dreaming that up?
We haven't introduced heated seats yet to the Australian market because
it's just not as important as it would be in European countries or Japan where it gets really, really cold.
I must have dreamt it.
What's that?
I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different types of price points across toilets. Now, obviously, hidden systems more expensive. Having it floating off the floor is going to be more expensive. The most cost-effective loo is going to be a back-to-wall. But even within, back-to-wall loos, just as an example, what makes a good quality toilet? Flush mechanism, I know, will be one of them. So, please cover that off. And then what are some of the other elements too that make a good quality toilet?
Well, the materials used are also very important. For example, AXA, our Italian brand, is the toilets are made out of fine fire clay and not ceramic. So that's a finer material which gives it, you can't see cellulite sort of on the pan.
The dimpled sort of effect.
Yes, it's a more clean look, and the systems also have more sharp edges, so it can be refined really, really well. So the material, there's also a clean coat that some of the toilets have. That comes from Laufen and also American Standard. Laufen is a Swiss brand, and they also do a clean coat on top of the ceramic, which kind of makes things slip and not stick. Extremely important in toilets. There's also the design feature, so that we have, there's a lot of designers involved in some of our toilet brands as well. For example, Roberto Palumba designed the Palumba collection for us. There's Trisha Urquela, who's brought out a new sauna collection for us.
She's amazing. What does that woman not design?
Oh, right.
She's my design goddess. Like, I just love her, but there's just nothing she doesn't design. She's amazing. But let's not get sidetracked with Patricia Urquela.
Yeah. So there's absolutely the design component where, beautifully designed products will cost a little bit more.
Or handcrafted as well, as Laufen do.
Yes.
Right. So that's a very good quality feature for them. Similar to Sussex with tapware that we've talked about in the other episode previously.
Yes, they're hand finished and hand polished, which gives it that personal touch.
And then in terms of the flush mechanisms, I've always been a big believer in the Geberit system. And so my understanding is that a more cost-effective option can sometimes then have a inferior flush mechanism, which is then more susceptible to breaking down. And that's obviously probably the most common thing that will break down in a toilet is the flush system or mechanism. So I would always then recommend Geberit. Is there anything that superseded that? Is that still the state of play?
I would say that's definitely the state of play. I mention that to clients all the time. I think particularly, with your in-wall systems, you want something that's quality, something that's got a 15-year warranty. Geberit comes from Switzerland, so anything from Switzerland or Germany just,
it works.
Denotes that it's, engineering.
It works.
It's excellent type thing. And they also do one molded piece in the cistern, so therefore there's no seams and it won't leak. That's the idea behind that. They've been doing that for a very, very long time. Their buttons also have a 15-year warranty. So just from a quality point of view, I think they're also a lot smoother and comfortable to use as well. So from a usability thing, it's good function, but it's solid in your wall and you don't want anything to go wrong with the toilet.
No, particularly with a hidden cistern, you just would not do anything else. Can you actually retrofit in a, let's talk about a back-to-wall loo, it doesn't really matter, but can you actually retrofit the flush mechanism and replace it with a Geberit mechanism?
Inside the wall?
No, just inside the cistern.
No, they have to be made to comply with those products.
Okay, so you'd need to go then and make sure that you're asking whether the cistern has got a Geberit flush mechanism, and if it doesn't, move on.
Yes, right. Yeah, they definitely
move on. It's not going to be worth your money. It's just not worth it.
That's right. And then you just keep getting leaks. There's constant dripping into the pan because something's gone wrong, and it just costs more in maintenance in the long run.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're probably only going to save $100 anyway, so it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about aesthetics before. I know that coloured tapware has been big. All the enamel stuff's back as well from the 1970s, the enamel tapware. We won't talk about taps though. Coloured toilets, I'm sure, are going to be coming in. I know I was at a friend's house and she had a black powder room and she had a black toilet. And, you can imagine from an aesthetic perspective, if you've got a black powder room with a white toilet, that is not something you want to put as a showpiece. So I found the black just fitted that particular aesthetic really well. Coloured toilets, I'm assuming that they are also making some sort of their way into the Australian market.
Absolutely are. We're looking forward to more coloured toilets, and spot on, as you said, in a powder room where it's quite dark and moody, just having a white anything would just stand out. And as we spoke about, tapware and black's not going away anytime soon. Yes, we're definitely looking forward to some exciting colours.
And I think we've also seen black sinks, black basins, so it is natural then that it's going to move to black toilets. And I think from an aesthetic perspective, and it will be purely aesthetic, in some design scenarios it's going to work really, really well having a black loo rather than, hey, look at me, here I am, your white toilet, when you really don't want it to be highlighted in a dark space. So I'm sure it'll be great for nightclubs and everywhere else. So I'm sure that's coming too. Was there anything else we needed to cover off on toilets, ladies?
I think we've covered most.
We've given lots of information. I think this awesome about the flush mechanism really needs to be Geberit, or really walk away. It's just not going to be worth your money and your effort. It's so good to hear that rimless is almost going to be the standard. And we need to make our choice for a non-standard height toilet, the 400, and really go to what I'm going to call the new standard, which is getting that higher pan. If you're thinking about your forever home, you need to future-proof it for when you're older, and that is definitely the way to go.
I think that's a good summary.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all your information again today, ladies. That's so great to know. And of course, that sitting on your toilet, I always say this to clients too, and I know you said there's some funny stories with people sitting on toilets in the showroom. It's like buying a bath. You can't possibly know if it's going to be comfortable for you. You can look at a picture as much as you like. You need to sit on it, because not all toilets are shaped the same way. They might even be the same height. Some of them are narrower than others. You need to sit on that and make sure that you're comfortable with it. And that, we'll talk about baths in a future episode, but don't be embarrassed. You just got to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it can be a lot of fun, actually.
You can have a few good laughs. Maybe you need to have a glass of wine before you go in and sit on the toilet, so you don't feel you'll be more self-conscious than others. Yet again, thank you so much, ladies. I really look forward to our upcoming episodes about all the other components with bathrooms. But that's been some great knowledge to share with the listeners, and I really appreciate your time again today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us again. Bye.
Thanks, ladies. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you're ready to renovate or build a new home and you need help to create a beautiful and functional forever home, you can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. Have a great day.